Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We're right at 11 o'clock. So I wanted to thank you everyone for joining today. As a reminder, today is focused on the role of zero trust in securing an AI-driven enterprise. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. Everyone will receive a follow-up email from us with a link to the recording, an overview of AVASOFT's capabilities, and a PDF one-pager with some information on our offerings that directly relate to today's content. Also, in order to keep today as collaborative as possible, please make sure to use the chat or Q&A to ask questions, and we'll make sure to get the answers as quickly as possible. Some we may answer in the chat, others we will read out loud to the presenters to have them answer if it requires a bit more information than maybe a quick one-sentence answer. And as a final item, if you find today's content helpful or interesting, make sure to check out any of our other great content that we have going on this year. With that, our presenters today are Ashwin and Ruben, so I'm going to hand it off to them to get started. Thanks again. Take it away, guys.
Yeah,
Yes.
thanks, Chuck. Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar. And today's topic is about the role of zero trust in securing AI-driven enterprise. So this is a part of a series of webinar which covers different topics on security, cloud, data, AI, and modern work. So if you're interested about the updated webinar topics, like visit our website so that like you can have yourself subscribe about the latest updates. So without any delay, let me quickly introduce about ourselves. My name is Ashwin, and I'm leading the cybersecurity practice at AVASOFT. And my key area of expertise includes building security strategy programs like ransomware protection, incident response, and business resilience program. So with me, I have Ruben. I'll let Ruben to introduce about himself too.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashwin. I'm Ruben. I'm cybersecurity architect in AVASOFT, and I'm working in AVASOFT for more than 4 years. I'm based on Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and expertised in the area of Microsoft security and providing compliance advisory to an organizations. It's based on the requirements on SOC 2, HIPAA, or GDPR.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben. So before we jump onto the topic, let me give a quick introduction about the AVASOFT, the company behind today's webinar. So AVASOFT is a globally recognized Microsoft managed service provider. So expertise covering in the entire Microsoft portfolio. So, and we have been in the industry for almost 15 plus years. And we have a team of technologists around the globe, like US, Canada, India, and Ireland, with a team of 1,500 plus team members. So we are specialized in many solution areas, and these are the specialization batches that we hold across different domains like security, modern work, data, and Azure infrastructure. We are also a fast track partner and ESIF funding partner as well. So the agenda for today's webinar is all about we are going to talk about what zero trust principle is and what is the strategy an organization can leverage with it, and why the layered security is important, and what is required to implement the zero trust implementation, and how the organization like Microsoft and the ecosystem is supported to leverage this layered security approach, and what would be the benefits is what like we are going to cover in this today's webinar. So I'll let Ruben to give a quick introduction about what zero trust and its principle behind it, and we can get it started from there.
Thank you, Ashwin. So before we go into detail about the zero trust and zero trust principle and how we go and how we need to implement, I want to give with a real-time example and the real-time implementation that we did for one of our customers. So this is the biggest customer in US. So they have one main organization. Under them, they have multiple other organizations where they acquisition and which are along with the same line of business on what they are doing. So each organization have different tenant, different identity, different application, different security policies which are implemented in all over the places. But there is a one person who is managing all and everything. So they have a real concern of managing this in one consolidated way and having the security posture in all over the places. And they are also having a concern of having the attack surface more in having the different tenants and different identities and different management solution how they are managing it. So they reach us and they just ask like how they can secure for the operations that they are doing. We just go in, we just did in-depth assessments on all the infrastructures and the systems on whatever they are having, and we provide the strategical solution on how they can able to leverage the Microsoft security strategies and the Microsoft solutions to implement the zero trust principles and zero trust solutions on their infrastructure. We provided the best practices and recommendations. We removed all the unwanted and unused applications and identities which are already used there, and provide a clear strategic solution to manage in the one single places. So this is how like we provide the clear solution to our customers, and by leveraging the Microsoft solutions for the zero trust principles and zero trust implementation. Let's go in deep about like what is zero trust and how the zero trust will apply in an enterprise organization. Zero trust is all about like it's not like nothing. It's not nothing like you can buy one product and you can implement in your organization and then like that's how like you have implemented a zero trust. No, you have to be think about there are multiple policies. You have to think about like what is need for your organization with respect to the security posture and how you need to implement the securities. There are multiple strategies that you need to think about. So by having the strategies, you need to apply the principles that zero trust has been providing. So zero trust have three main strategies and the principles, which is never trust, always verify, least privilege, and assume breach everywhere. So when it comes to never trust, you all need to know the strong authentication. When it comes to strong authentication, you should have a clear password policies, clear MFA policies for all the organizations and users who are using under it. And you should have a continuous monitoring on the systems and the critical systems that have been using. And you should have a clear audit logs and monitoring of the identities to understand about the lateral activities of the identities or any attackers that have been entered into your systems. And you should have a conditional access policy where should you use to define who needs to enter and who have an access and where they have an access to. So you should have these all policies in place to make sure the never trust and always verify is being satisfied. And also you need to think about the privileged least privilege access. Whenever like you are providing any privileges to anyone, you should think about the least privilege has been implemented. You should have a role-based access control in place. First, you need to define who are all the roles and who are the peoples they are going to access into the systems and what they are going to access into the systems. Based on that, you need to have a set of groupings, and based on that group, you need to provide access to any of the applications or any of the infrastructure or any of the database from that group, not directly or not by on demand. It needs to grow with the strategical planning from the group and the access. And you need to think about the just-in-time access. And if anyone, let's take a scenario, there is an application administrator who is requesting an access for application management kind of scenario. And if you are providing a security admin or a compliance admin, which is more sophisticated permission and more privileged permissions that you are providing. So that particular person can able to enter into the other systems that he doesn't even to like know into or doesn't even to enter into. So like you need to think about what is the purpose that they are going to do by the access that you are going to provide. You need to clearly understand like what they are going to do. Then you need to assign the permissions accordingly. And you need to have a clear auditing and reviewing at least once in a month to check who are all having access in your systems and who are all doesn't need to have in the systems. And you need to remove that on like by the way, like when you see they don't need an access to make sure like the right people have right access to the right systems. And you also need to make sure the applications access is being restricted and not providing access to everyone in the organization as an administrator or end user level access permissions. Though also like if you are implementing the zero trust strategies and if you are 100% secure, you always need to think about assuming breaches. So you need to think about like you should have a clear incident response plan where you need to define a clear responsibility on the people who are all going to involve on the incident response, on how they need to do and what they need to do and how they need to communicate if something is happened. And you need to have a clear person who is expertised in doing the threat hunting to understand how the threats have been transferred and to trace where the threat has been transferred and how it has been affected. So you need to have a clear person to be in the place to understand about the expansion of the threats and attacks. Also, you need to have a clear backup and recovery plan and strategies to make sure, even though if any attacks or ransomware attacks or any kind of attacks attacking your organization, you can take a backup of wherever you are storing and you can continue your business without having any disruption. Also, you need to make sure your data has been encrypted and your data has been protected on wherever it's been resided in SharePoint or database or wherever it is. You need to make sure the data has been encrypted in rest and data has been encrypted while it is being transferred.
Yep. So one point I would like to highlight with whatever Ruben's mentioned is like zero trust is not a product by itself. It's more of a strategy that we need to adopt for the modern day problem, because like everybody business is on internet and anybody has access to any resources. So with the vast amount of cloud adoption, so zero trust is kind of a must or mandatory best practice security strategy recommended for the modern problem of security threats exist today.
Yeah.
So
people will say like they are implementing the passwords, they are implementing the MFA, and at the end of the day, they will say like they are zero trust strategies and their organization is connected on zero trust. No, it is all about like whether they have a clear picture and they identify like what are the systems they have, and they are making sure everything is being connected. So zero trust, it's kind of a strategy you can able to do by just buying some kind of products. Yeah, let's see like how the zero trust strategy applies for an enterprise. So it's all starts with identity. When we are saying identity, it's all about the internal identity, the external vendors and the customers who are all having access to your systems. And you need to make sure like it has been as a clear, strong password policies, and you have been implemented with the role-based access controls, and you have a continuous monitorings and other loggings in place. And the second, from the identity, these identities are going to access something in the endpoint. When it comes to endpoint, it's all about the laptops or the devices where the people are going to access your data, laptops you are providing to your organization members or the external vendors who can able to access that system to enter into the data. So you need to make sure you have a clear NDM and MAM policies and clear access restrictions policies to make sure the particular device is secure and particular device is up to date to the recent security standards and the policies. And that comes an application. The application is the second layer where people are going to use inside the endpoint. So you need to make sure the applications which is going to take application will have an access to the data which your organization stores. So you need to make sure the application doesn't have an like privileged access to edit and modify the data by the end users. And you also have the database where you'll be residing inside your network. You need to make sure the database, the access of the database, and it is reside only inside the network, and no one can enter from the outside. And you need to make sure the database is being encrypted and the rest, and database is being encrypted while it is being transferring. And as well, the next stage is the infrastructure. Infrastructure is where like you are going to manage both data and the application in one single place, and you need to make sure the secure pipeline has been enabled, and you are maintaining the keys in a secure key vault, and you are constantly reviewing the access for the key vault. And finally, it comes to the network. Network is consolidating all the other layers which we are talking about, the identity, endpoint, application, data, and infrastructure. It covers everything. You are making sure the firewall has been implemented and firewall security policies has been implemented for identity, endpoint, application, data, and infrastructure to make sure only the incoming traffics applied or approved incoming traffics have been flowed for your organization. So here comes like how you need to make sure your organization is being like comes under zero trust security strategies. First, you need to list down what you need, and you need to write down the policy of how it needs to be operated based on the business that you are doing. And you need to apply the policies for everywhere in identity, endpoint, application, database, and infrastructure and network. So this helps you to do the threat intelligence and all kind of automations that you want to do here. Yeah, by having all this in place, you can able to connect each and every layers of the zero trust, and you can able to do the automations, and you will be having a clear visibility of what is happening in identity throughout the network, and you can able to track where things are going and what is happening inside the network.
Yep. So to today's the environment on how the business and the world works, right? So before zero trust, it was a perimeter security, like where organizations were adopting to. So it just concentrate about only protecting about the network and does not concentrate much about the data and application and the endpoints that is being accessed about. So it just put all the gates on the firewall. Only the authorized access is allowed or restricted. So it's to today's situation that no longer leverage the purpose here. So, and adding to the Ruben's point about understanding the organization priority, when you're adopting a security strategy. Like you should be clear about your organization goals. And if you're on the regulated industries, you need to be knowing like what data that you need to be protected. Say for an example, if you are on healthcare industry, you need to be knowing about you have the need to protect the PHI information. If you are in the financial sector, you need to be protecting the credit card information or PA information whatsoever. So you need to be understanding what the business priorities are and what are the business critical data that need to be protected. And the next step is to understand where this data resides. I mean, which application uses this data and who has access to this application and what can they do with that data. So we need to figure out this as a first layer to effectively build a security strategy, because it's a combination of confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and it should be in a balanced way. So we cannot lock all the doors altogether in the sake of securing the system, and it affects directly the availability part. So the intended users should access the data without any struggle. So that is also a key important aspect while securing data. So let me move on to the simple analogy on how it applies in the real time. Say for an example, you take a castle. So data being the core part of the castle, right? So in technology, like data is the core part. So in this example, like the core part is the center where it is marked as data security. So to approach that place, like you need to know like the infrastructure where the data is being present, and the network it is covered with, and the endpoint and the identity. So and the user to access that particular piece of information, they cannot directly go and access the data. Like they need to come across each layer and to access the data. Only then, so the point I'm trying to make is like even if the layer one fails, the layer two gets captured on the company's policies that has been applied. So we need to understand the business priority and how the security data landscape looks like, and apply security after on top of it. That's where most companies lacks in, because they buy all this purchase products. They purchase for a product for identity and access management. They purchase a product for endpoint management. They protect for the data loss prevention policies product. But the point is they do not configure in the right way it needs to be configured to achieve this stage. So that's where the major gap relies on. But to achieve a zero trust layer, you need to have a protection across each layer, which Ruben was talking about before on the previous slide. So let's take an example on how it applies in real time when it comes to the user and devices, and how they are accessing an application, and what are the criteria that is comes across when validating the access to the environment. So this is what like we call it as a zero trust implementation. If the zero trust implementation is implemented, this is how the real-time access is validated when an user access in any system. Say for an example, internal user, external users, and corporate device or personal device. These are the entities that is going to access the company's information. So internal users is most probably it going to be the employees of the organization. External users, it can be either contractors or customers. It can be whatsoever. So in corporate devices, mostly employees would be provided with their corporate device, and also they can access the organization data with their personal device too. So based upon who is accessing system and which devices they are accessing, we can have some set of policies in place about, again, you can correlate this back to the different layers we were talking about, the users, identity and endpoint, which is device, and the location, the network, internal network or outside network, and based upon the behavior, whether it is an valid behavior or is there anything suspicious about the user accessing the environment. All this come in matters when it before providing access to the environment. Say for an example, these are the common application that is being used in most organization. So one is for communication and collaboration, which is Office apps like Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive. And companies may also use other cloud apps or SaaS applications, which is HRMS, CRM, LMS, or ERP application. And that comes thing comes up that the custom application. It can be any business application or the website itself of the organization. So before letting access, we need to have conditional access policies which need to be configured. So we need to have the set of policies configured. The tools that is used to configure those policies would be like the Entra and Intune in this example. So which sets the access conditions before letting the user to access the resource. So only if all this condition satisfied in a layered defense approach, the access is granted to the application resource. Say for an example, the company organization is on B2B and the business is on only the North American region. So if there is any traffic coming from an Asian region, immediately it flags as a red flag and saying like this is not an unexpected traffic to come from the other region, other part of the world. So those kind of the validation is made at every layer before letting the access. So say for an example, if the location criteria got failed, the access is immediately revoked, and this happens in real time. And because like this is not about it's not point of validation at the entry level alone. It's a continuous validation in real time. Even the user got bypassed with all this condition, and any of this criteria failed at using the application, it access got the session got revoked automatically and immediately. So once this happens, like access, there is a red flag is triggered, it immediately notified to the Defender console, which is an XDR platform which Microsoft provides, and also the Sentinel console, which is an SIM console, which is event and information management system, security incident and event management system. So all this logs comes into this place. So by this way, we can apply zero trust policies in place to restrict the access to the resources based on the organization criteria. So to achieve this kind of condition, right, the problem of having a defragmented approach. When I say defragmented approach, a separate product for identity and access management, a separate product for device management, and a separate product for data loss management. So if there are separate product, like it does not talk to each other. There are lot of manual efforts required to make it talk to each other, correlate the events. Only then the security operations center can identify whether the event is legitimate or false positive. So this correlation is very, very important. That's why we always recommend to go over the comprehensive security suite of product instead of going to the point products. So let's see what are the Microsoft products that Microsoft offers to get a benefit of the consolidated security approach. So as we're talking about, these are the sensitive application and data the organization use. So the first step is to know about what does the data landscape look like, the office apps, cloud apps, and custom apps. And we need to figure out where the sensitive data resides on what is the priority looks like. Then we need to figure out who are the users that would be accessing based upon the departments or role, whatever it may be, the classification. So we need to know who's be the resources accessing this information and which devices they are expected to access. And to support and manage this project, this process, right? And the Microsoft offers Entra for managing the internal users access. For the external users access, it provides Entra external ID for managing devices and putting compliance policies. Like Microsoft provides MDM platform where it allows the bring your own device, like the personal device management and also the application management and also the corporate device management, which takes care of the complete control of the end devices. Even if the device gets lost, we can do a remote wipe from one point, so that all the devices be managed centrally. Then comes to the Microsoft Purview, which is a data management part where we can classify each sensitive data. Say for an example, an SSN number of an employee, right? So we can tag this if this pattern comes in, these are an SSN number. So we can have the data loss prevention policy in place so that the SSN number cannot go outside of the organization network. So this is very, very important criteria when it comes to the compliance requirement. No matter whatever it is, like it may be a GDPR, SOC 2, ISO, PCI DSS, HIPAA, and all this compliance has this mandatory requirement of protecting the data. So then comes like this is the management layer. When it comes to the threat detection layer, there comes the Defender suite. So Defender XDR is what Microsoft call their Defender product is. What XDR means is the combination of all the endpoints correlation into the one suite of product, which is Defender. So Defender has different flavors, which is Defender for identity, Defender for endpoint, Defender for office apps, cloud apps, and Defender for cloud. So each has its own strengths on protecting their own use cases. When Microsoft, what it does is like correlates all the events all together and give a more contextual information about the incident that happens in an organization. So it would be really quick to identify what happened and respond it to the incident as quick as possible. Then comes in Microsoft Sentinel. This is a SIM platform. So with this platform, we can leverage an automated response. So if there is an incident, like if it's a regular kind of incident that you classify as, you know the fix what it is. You can write a playbook where you can if this happens, initiate the playbook so that it automatically fixes the vulnerability. So this kind of integration is possible with Sentinel. And one more big part is like this is where like the AI comes in. So with all this data, I mean the events and information that is happening across the environment, it has the all together with all the correlation and normalization done already. So here comes an AI. It has more realistic event management. Say for an example, that's how like Microsoft Security Copilot also works, because if you ask about the summarize about the issues, it can tell with this user access this data with this device, which is not company device, which is not an expected action. It can summarize more meaningful context when it comes to the threat investigation. So without this kind of correlation, it's going, even if you have put in AI, it's not going to give you more meaningful insights about the incident. So having this correlation is very important, where like Microsoft Suites is helping out in that criteria. And one more big advantage of leveraging Microsoft suite of product is like it comes with the licenses that you are already use for the modern work. So there are high chances that you already use E5, E3, or business premium licenses for your Office apps collaboration. So you don't need to separately purchase a security product at an extra cost. This license comes with these products already inbuilt. So you're already paying for this products, so you can get the maximum benefits out of these products with the same license that you use for the modern work and the collaboration purpose, like Outlook on Teams. So that we strongly recommend to go with E5 or business premium adoption. So for E5 is complete is the highest level of license that Microsoft offers, which almost comes with all the features, security products that we were talking about. And business premium is for the SMB kind of a business, which is less than 300 seats. So we recommend them to go with business premium, so which comes with all the Entra, Intune, and the Defender part. So you can get the maximum benefit of the license that you're spending for the collaboration purpose as well.
Yeah, here you can see the full and holistic picture of. Can you go back, Kashan? Yeah, here you can see the full and holistic picture of how Microsoft is providing security in all the layers that we are talking about, and what are the systems that have been used for providing the security on each layers. So you don't need to worry about spending multiple amount of like policies in different systems and purchasing multiple applications to have these policies in place, and you don't need to worry about integrating everything in one single place. So you can, Microsoft is already been connected. You don't need to worry about like how you need to connect identity, device, application, data, infrastructure. As it is already been connected, you can able to create one policies in one place to manage all the security postures, which you need to do. So that's how Microsoft has been providing a security, and you can easily adapt your security posture and your security requirements into Microsoft. Yeah. let's quickly summarize like what we see till now. So we talked about the what is zero trust and how the strategies of zero trust. We talked about the principles of zero trust, which covers the always trust and you assume breach, and you need to think about the least privileges access. And we talked about the how the strategies is and approaches that you need to focus, and how you need to connect the identity with the network of your organization, and how you think about the holistic picture of your security future, and how you need to define the policies for an organization. We also talked about the layered security and how the data is important when it comes to the security or organization that you are working on. And we also talked about how Microsoft is providing a security solution for a zero trust strategies, and how the zero trust strategies needs to be implemented with Microsoft solutions. Let's talk about the benefits of adopting zero trust strategies with Microsoft for an organization. You will be having a clear visibility of how your security is. You can able to see and you can able to control who is coming in, who is coming out, who have access to a data, who doesn't needs to have an access to a data. You can able to have a continuous monitoring and continuous reviewing of your environment. So it's based on the clear visibility you are having here. And you can easily able to do a threat intelligence by having systems connected and having the like Microsoft AI solutions in place. You can able to easily able to adapt to the advanced threat intelligence that all Microsoft is being providing. And you can able to do a Microsoft AI based analytics by having the systems connected. And if you are defining the clear set of policies and what you need and how it needs to be implemented, AI will take care of the rest of the things and what you need to do. And you can able to easily do the continuous assessment of how to check whether is there any vulnerabilities that caused due to the previous implementation that you took already, or if you want to do some kind of new implementations by seeing the gaps and you want to remediate according to it. And when it comes to the return of investment, when it comes to security, people will think about like they are not getting the return of investment on what they are investing for security. But here you're seeing like you don't need to like spend more about the license. We can able to provide the utmost like benefits of how much you can use for the license that you are having, and we can able to leverage the features that our license is particularly providing. And you don't need to spend the licensing cost for purchasing different application for providing the security solutions, and you can do everything in one single place and one single license if you have EFI in place. And you don't need to spend, or you don't need to like rely on the expertise who worked on different applications. You can just focus on one Microsoft person who can able to deal and who can able to manage the different products that are in Microsoft. And also like you can improve the effectivity, and if any incidents occurred or any threats occurred or any alerts occurred, it is easy to go in all the places by having the centralized monitoring places in place. It improves your efficiency. Also like you can able to automate things, and you can do the EDR and MDR kind of scenarios and automatic remediations kind of scenarios by having all these in one places.
Yeah, thanks, Ruben. And that's it. Like with this comprehensive approach, like there is always the two things, like the better risk management and quantification is one factor, and the second thing is like lot of cost saving with respect to the security budget, and at that same time, like you're not compromising anything. So that's the two things, like or the two major benefits on adopting to Microsoft consolidated zero trust approach. So let's go on to the Q&A, and I see like already there are a couple of questions coming on. Yeah. So
I'll go ahead and read them out.
okay.
So we do have, I actually have 7 questions for you all. So the first one, and I'm going to go in order as so you can kind of compound the answers on top of it. So the first one was actually the last question that came in. So what security gaps do you see in the current IT environment that zero trust could help resolve?
So the major gap that most companies do is like they are more towards to the layered defense, and they are convert into the one particular piece. With zero trust, like it covers all the layered approach where it comes to the identity, endpoint, and data, and which system is using. All this has been covered as part of the layered security approach. And moreover, on today's world is towards the AI. So to have the AI part to pitch in, right? So you need to have this all the correlation and normalization part done. So that is already been taken care when you do go with this platform approach, which could eventually help in zero trust process. So how it exactly helped today's IT environment. The question to that particular piece is like the cyber attacks has been evolving and more sophisticated, and we need to have a system that is capable enough to spot that issue in a very quicker time. To that, we need to have a defense system strong, the proactive approach, that is the zero layered defense, which is zero trust, and also the reactive side. We need to be having the equipment of having AI in the defense sector, and that would also be helpful in correlating and identifying and defending the issues.
So, do you see an area that customers pay more attention to or less attention to that maybe they should change focus? Like, for example, do you see customers that spend more time with identity and less time with data security? So, what do you see as a let's say a more attention versus a less attention?
So I would say like every organization knows the security is critical, but they were lacking of the actual guidance to implement, because no companies take the security lightly. So they invest on security products in all the sectors, even the identity access management and data security. But the point is like they don't validate or do an assessment on whether this meets to the standards. That's where the actual lag comes in when it comes to the security.
Okay. So the next one I think is a little bit of an extension of this one. So how does Zero Trust integrate with existing or even legacy technology? And what do you see as bigger challenges when it comes to those legacy technologies?
So the answer to your question, can we able to leverage zero trust with legacy technology? The answer is yes. So, but the sophistication of achieving more complex scenarios, which in the real time, right, that becomes a challenge when it comes to integrating with the legacy technologies, like a real-time context or the location and the device compliant policies. So those are the things that would be becoming challenging and would take more time to process that information. Yeah, we can definitely have this as the first layer of defense, but it's not going to work in a real-time manner. So those are the limitations that I would see as in leveraging zero trust with the legacy mode for applications.
Yeah. Also, legacy systems will lack on providing security on the recent attacks that we are taking care of, and those conditional access or policies that we are implementing in the recent security tools that we may lack on those legacy systems. We can do one level of or one layer of security, but not 100%.
Okay. I feel like I know the answer to this next question, but what do you think the biggest risk you see in not adopting a zero trust model?
So yeah, like I think as an example that we provided at the initial of this session started. So like you'll be having a disconnected environment and disconnected structures. So you may have a very good like possibilities for getting ransomware attacks. You may get into a compliance failure, and where you may need to pay multiple amount of fines or like the amounts to pay for compliance failures, and you may resulting into like some kind of like reputative damages, and where people or customers will not be trusted you once after something has happened. And you also go for like uh, repeated incidents that may happen because of the attacks that happened previously. And also like you increase the insider and excited threats and attacks based upon like not having this zero trust strategies or implementation in place. So
Yeah,
like
I would also like to add one point there. Sorry for stopping you, Ruben. And there are two pieces of approaching the security. One is on the proactive side, on the reactive side. Without zero trust, like it's more likely to be often on the reactive piece. The incidents already happened. The attacker is already in the in network, and the data has already been compromised. Then the security team goes in and finds out what happened, what are the data went on. This is one approach that is reactive without zero trust. If we want to have a proactive, without letting the attackers comes in and by defending all the gates are locked together. So that's where the zero trust comes in. So it's a matter of option for an organization to whether go with a proactive approach or reactive approach. So whoever wants to go reactive way, then comes the problem of not having zero trust in place.
All right, I'm going to tweak this question just a little bit. Could you guys identify like the specific areas that you would analyze during an assessment for zero trust?
Yeah, so as we are talking about, the zero trust is touching upon every layer, right from identity, the access management system. We'll be analyzing like who are the users that is in the organization, what are the titles, different categories of users that is there, and what are the intended application access they should be having. We will be having that resource list and the access entitlement list. So we'll map all these things and who are the users and what are the expected location they will be accessing from, what are the expected devices they are accessing from. So we will write down the expected list of activities that required for an organization to happen. Based on that, if there is any anomaly or outlier to the expected action, we'll call that as a suspicious activity. So to have this thing facilitated, we need to have the set of policies implemented as baseline. So the first layer is to assess between, go on each layer to understand the baseline policies being configured. So irrespective of whatever the organization, there should be different set of data loss prevention policies should always be there. So those kind of baseline security is applied or not would be the first layer of security assessment done. So the second layer would be like based on the business context, which are the critical system application data for the organization, analyzing those particular thing and checking on the configuration is aligned to the business need would be the second layer thing. And the third one would be the cost spent on the license, whether if they already have E5 license and does not leverage Intune, that things will also be covered as part of with the E5. You're already spending the license for the endpoint management Intune. So those kind of things will be covered as part of the assessment.
All right. I'm gonna read this last question, but this is more of kind of like a sales question. And since I've actually answered this question quite a few times, I'll throw out my answer. And if you guys want to throw anything on top of that. So the question is, how do you justify the investment in zero trust security? I actually get this question a lot when talking with customers, and the reality is every business has to do a cost benefit analysis. You know, every bit of security and product development and any new product purchase that a customer uses is all about the benefit to the company. And so that cost benefit analysis is more like a risk analysis. It's, if I don't, what are my risks? And some organizations have a lot of contractors, right? So if they don't invest, they're a higher chance of being breached. So each organization needs to do an analysis of what it would mean if they don't make the investment, not trying to justify the reason behind it. They need to look at it from the other direction, like, why would I not, and what is the risk to not making that investment? So it's more of a strategic decision.
Yeah, completely agreed, Chuck.
Yeah, security is kind of an insurance. So if you're investing now, it is not going to help at that time, but it will be help when you need actually. So you may not expect the return of investment at the time when you're investing, but it will help like to secure an organization, as like breaches may cost you millions of dollars when you're attacked with ransomware. Your ransomware fees may go high. So better like to have spend in zero trust strategies. That's more beneficial.
Yeah, it's more of like security is not an option. It's kind of a mandatory for any organization to pitch in. And if you ask about the investment question, that's where the overall purpose of the agenda is adapting to Microsoft. Say for an example, a small medium business, if they have the business premium license, which is not dedicated for security, but if they are using for their collaboration and purpose like that. So that also comes with the security features that is required, that is more than sufficient to leverage a zero trust model kind of security. So you're not paying extra with respect for the security, and the cost spent on the business operation is already taken care with the security model. So that is kind of an even the Microsoft planning, as security is not a separate solution, it's an integrated solution with the how the business operates. So that would be that's not kind of a separate investment. It's a mandatory thing for every organization to have.
Agreed. Yeah, so there were a few others, but you covered all of the others that were in your content. So that kind of wraps up the questions, and I don't see any more in the chat. So I did want to give a final thank you to both Ashwin and Ruben for presenting today, as well as everybody else who took the time to attend. Don't forget to check out all the great content we have coming up across the entire Microsoft ecosystem. And as a final note, we'd be happy to schedule some time to chat with any of you who may be interested in deep diving or discussing any projects that you might have. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing everybody on the next one.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.